Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and today we're going to be finding out who the experts are replacing Bryan Mbeumo with, as well as a few other surprises in the mix with a few improvements to the series as well. Let's get going. So, as always, a massive shout out to our experts who helped us out with their data this week, all 100 of them. Thank you very much to these guys. If you do see them around on social media, do make sure you go and check them out because they've been helping us all season, and let's see what they are doing in Game Week 14. So it's another week to be making transfers, guys. 47% of our 100 experts will be making one transfer this week, with 30% making two transfers. So yeah, another big week for making multiple transfers all in one go. And we're going to be suggesting some combo transfer moves that you might like the look of this week that could help improve your rank. 5% are making 3 or more transfers. Nobody is using the wildcard this week. I think it's probably not the best wildcard opportunity unless your team is in absolute terrible situation right now, but 18% are making no transfers this week as well. So there are a few people rolling their transfers. We have seen a few wildcarders recently, and those are the guys who are mostly looking to roll at this stage of the season. But I think in general it is a transfer making week, and we've got plenty of suggestions for you guys. So let's have a look at the global top picks, and we have changed this graphic a little bit. This is not the main change of the series, but it is just a little quality of life change that I have added to the series. Of course, do let me know if you have any suggestions on how we can improve the way we do present the data in these videos, or anything else you'd like to know from the experts. But at the top of the list for the overall transfer trends, we do see Nicholas Jackson and Bukayo Saka topping the list here, each with over 500,000 transfers in for these players. And for the experts, we got strong trends towards these players as well. A lot of people picking up these guys. Outside of that, players like Cunha, not really any new interest on him from our experts, but an away game against Everton could be a little bit tough for Cunha. So yeah, the overall player base seems to like him, but the experts, many do already have him, but no new owners for him this game week. Palmer, small trends upwards, as well as Wan-Bissaka, João Pedro, and Kaoru Mitoma. But players like Salah, not really too much change there. Virgil van Dijk, no new transfers in for him, and the same for Gabriel as well. So those are the overall picks. Those are the trends. The only players who might not be worth a transfer on this list will probably be maybe Virgil van Dijk. Everyone else, there's actually a lot of similarities between the overall, the global top picks and the expert top picks, but there are some significant differences that we do need to discuss today that hopefully are going to help you out quite a fair bit, as well as the captaincy, of course. So let's take a little gander at the transfers out, and now you can see a big change to this series is the final column, which is the approximate last game week percentage ownership among experts. So for example, top of the list here, we see Bryan Mbeumo. Last game week, 80% of our experts had Bryan Mbeumo in their FPL teams. However, we can see that 43 of those 80 managers are transferring him out. So over half of Mbeumo owners will be removing him ahead of his fixture against Aston Villa. That is very, very significant indeed. A halving, more than a halving of Mbeumo's ownership suggests that he is definitely a player to consider selling this week with his very poor form. One shot in the last 4 game weeks, and the fixtures now do get a little bit more difficult for him. So poor form, poor fixtures. He's a pretty easy sell if you have him in your team. But because we now know how many people currently own Mbeumo who are selling him, well, we can also say actually, there are still a fair amount of experts who will be keeping Mbeumo. So does that make him a must sell? No. But he is certainly a player on the chopping block. Now, the next player here is Alexander Isak. Now, we have recently had the news that Isak supposedly is fit to play in Game Week 14. The injury he sustained was just an impact injury, a painful one, but not one that is going to keep him out. However, I did gather the expert data before that information came out. So although we do see 18 of our experts removing Isak out of the 30 owners, I do wonder if that will drop a little bit. But still, if we imagine around half of Isak owners will be selling him among those experts, that is still very, very significant, and he's still a player, regardless of the injury status, a player you could consider removing ahead of a difficult fixture against Liverpool, though it has to be said that Isak's fixtures after that are pretty good. So it's going to come down to your opinion. Do you believe in Isak? Do you trust him? Do you have faith in this player? If not, he is going to be a sell, particularly if you have another transfer target that you'd like to bring in for him. But maybe not quite Mbermo levels of exodus in terms of FPL. Going down this list, Chris Wood, also 11 transfers out for him, down from the 28% who owned him last game week. So fairly significant there. Konate, with his long-term injury, is seeing 6 transfers out. And further down the list, we have players like Fernandes, Greaves, pretty highly owned, but a few people looking to remove him. Solanke and Wissa. The final few owners of these players seem to be selling them off. So, yeah, do consider selling Solanke and Wissa. And Gvardiol and Haaland, the Man City guys, are seeing a small downward trend for their ownership as well. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy this video or you just enjoy the new changes to the video, let me know by dropping a like on the video. It really helps out the channel. Obviously, it's a busy time in FPL, so we're working hard, making sure you've got the content ready to go for Game Week 14. Do subscribe if you want to follow along with those expert trends every single week as well. Let's see who the experts are transferring in Game Week 14. Okay, so we have a new hype man for the experts for Game Week 14. Strong trends towards Nicholas Jackson with 27 transfers in for him. He was only owned by 20% of our experts last game week, which is going to bring him up more than double his amount of ownership and bringing him firmly into the expert template team. 8.1 million now, facing Southampton next. It's a really nice time to go for an in-form Nicholas Jackson, so do consider going here for him in your FPL team if you are looking for a new forward. Saka also seeing a plenty of transfers in, 20 for him. So just like the overall transfer trends, Jackson and Saka are the two big transfer targets ahead of this game week. But how about some of these other options? In midfield, Bowen and Mitoma are seeing some trends towards them as well. Very, very few people owned these players last week, so they're going to start seeing their very first significant changes in ownership for the season. After that, Colwill is the #1 defender to buy, apparently, alongside Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, he is coming back into fashion now he is returned from injury, and with Connor Bradley injured, we're expecting Trent to get plenty of game time with a little bit of attacking threat in that very, very strong Liverpool defense. João Pedro is also seeing a few more people move towards him this week, and Wan-Bissaka, Ødegaard and Watkins complete the list of transfers in this week among our experts. But really, it's all about Jackson and Saka this week. Let's see where the template is right now. Okay, guys, so let me know, did you score higher or lower than the expert average in Game Week 13? 77 points was the average, which means another 50,000-ish green arrow for the experts. The average rank mean is now 417,000, and the median is 325,000. So do let me know, did you outscore the experts, and are you ranked higher than the experts as well? Maybe you've been using the expert data to beat the experts. That could be really, really interesting to hear that. But really impressed again. It seems that the average expert rank seems to be increasing by around 50,000 places every single game week. So before too long, we are going to see this get really, really high. And I know a lot of people have been critical, saying, you know, the expert should be ranked 10th in the world by Game Week 5. Maybe a little unrealistic expectations there, but as we see, they are going to increase and increase and increase as the season goes by. And maybe some people who were feeling confidently ahead of the experts at one stage of the season may be starting to get a little bit nervous now. I have faith that over the season, the experts will do the business, and hopefully you guys do as well. That's why you're watching these videos. But anyway, looking at the template, no changes in the goalkeepers. Fabianski and Raya still top of the template, and Ait Nouri and Gabriel represent the only two two true template defenders among experts. Outside of that, it is a bit of a free-for-all, although we have seen decreases in ownership to Gabriel and Gvardiol, and Greaves there a little bit as well. In midfield, small increases to Palmer and Salah, but this is significant news because we are now expecting Palmer to have 100% ownership among the top FPL managers for Game Week 14. If you don't have Palmer in your team, you should be worried at this point. It is very rare we see such a large convergence among FPL managers, and they are saying Palmer is a must own. 100% is crazy. Salah is also in this list at 2% increase to bring him to 98% ownership. That is insanely high, and a big change for Saka, as we know. He's now going to be up to 82%. So the vast majority of experts will have Saka in their team for Game Week 14 as well. Rodgers is still in here, and a big decrease from Mbeumo from 80% all the way down. He's now in the 30%. So, you know, real decrease for Bryan Mbeumo, and I think he will drop out of the template within the next week or so. In terms of forwards, no change with Cunha and João Pedro still being the top two forwards after last game week, where they saw significant increases in ownership over the last 2 weeks. However, we have got a new man here. Nicholas Jackson, with a 27% increase, is now in the expert template. So, again, are you a template manager? How many of these players do you have? Are you converging on that expert template? Would love to hear from how you guys compare to the experts, whether that be players, rank, scores from last week. Let me know about it, guys, in the comment section. But let's move on to some transfer suggestions for you. So the combo transfers, first of all, and here is the big thing, I suppose. Now, a lot of people looking to remove Bryan Mbeumo, totally understandable. However, it seems like Saka is the biggest transfer target to replace Mbeumo. If you don't have Salah and Palmer, then they're going to be in that category as well. But hopefully most of you guys do have at least Salah and Palmer in and are looking to add Saka in next. So the best Mbeumo replacement is Saka. The question is, how do you afford that? How do you free up the money in able to afford the Mbeumo to Saka upgrade? Now, Isak is a potential player to sell. If you don't have a João Pedro or a Cunha, it is very possible to try and free up some money that way to make the Mbeumo to Saka upgrade. So yeah, Isak to João Pedro could work. So could Solanke to João Pedro in order to get Mbeumo up to Saka. I would say with Solanke more so, it is maybe worth a -4 to do that. We also have the idea of moving Mbeumo and a Fernandes to Saka and a midfielder of your choice. So if you do have the Mbeumo and Fernandes, double up, taking up a bit of budget in your midfield areas. Upgrade one of them to Saka, downgrade the other one down to a cheaper midfielder such as Kaoru Mitoma ahead of his nice fixtures for Brighton. So these are the kind of combo transfers you want to be thinking about, but there are some individual transfers you could make to really improve your team as well. So let's get the obvious ones out the way first. If you want to bring Nicholas Jackson into your team, Isak and Wood seem to be the popular guys to be selling in order to make that move. I'd include Solanke in here as well if Solanke was a bit more popular, but yeah, certainly Isak to Jackson, Wood to Jackson. These are transfer moves that make sense. I don't think they are essential necessarily, but they're certainly pretty good ideas if you have no other problems in your team. In terms of those Bryan Mbeumo replacements, as we mentioned, Saka is the best one. So if you can make this move directly, if you somehow have a whole bunch of money in your bank, Mbeumo straight to Saka works really nicely. But if you can't afford to do that, maybe you need to downgrade, or maybe you're trying to fund other moves in your team in future game weeks, or maybe even in the current game week, then Mbeumo down to Bowen is the second most popular midfield transfer move to make in game week 14, according to the experts. Bowen, really good fixtures in the next 5. His data is okay, but we know he's a nailed-on man in a busy fixture schedule, which is very, very useful indeed. Bryan Mbeumo could also be sold for Kaoru Mitoma, less popular than Bowen among our experts. So if you are going to go for one, the priority order seems to be Saka, Bowen, and then Mitoma, but still, there is enough interest in Mitoma that you might consider making this move as well if you want to free up even more budget for future moves. Konate is obviously going to be out for quite some time, so we are looking at maybe moving him to a Colwill or a Trent Alexander-Arnold. These seem to be the hype defender transfers in. Of course, if you don't have Gabriel in your team, here's another place you could potentially go as well. And those are your transfer suggestions. Let's talk about captaincy next. Well, after a few weeks of maybe people going for some differential captains, it seems like this week the experts have converged on one particular man, and that is Cole Palmer ahead of his fixture away against Southampton. 78% of our experts will be captaining Palmer, which makes him a pretty obvious captain choice ahead of this game week. If you are wanting to play it safe, sensible, or don't really want to think about this one too much, I think Palmer, very easy, very obvious, straight away, slap the captain's armband on him and sit back, relax, and enjoy the game week. However, if you do want to go a little bit different, this could be an opportunity with only 11% of our experts captaining Salah. That is pretty low compared to recent game weeks, so you could actually have a differential captain Salah in a way this week against Newcastle away from home. Now, we have seen Haaland re-enter the fold for this week with his home game against Nottingham Forest. 8% of our experts will be captaining Haaland against Forest, which is quite interesting. Let's see how that one goes. Don't know how you guys feel about that one, but I think if you do still have Haaland in your team, maybe you're just thinking, I want to double down and really bet against the crowds of Palmer, Salah and Saka owners and see if we can do some damage here in what should, in theory, on paper, be a favourable fixture for Man City. Although we know Man City haven't exactly been playing by the paper these days. Football is played on grass, and Saka is our final player on this list. 3% of our experts will be captaining him for his home game against Manchester United. A nice little matchup for Saka this game week, but can he outperform the likes of Palmer and Salah again? That is a question that you guys need to decide for yourself. But seems pretty obvious this week. It's a Palmer captain week, really. There are some other options there, but we have got strong trends this week, which would probably mean I would suggest not going differential this week. Doesn't really feel like a differential captain week to me, but maybe you guys have got some different ideas on that one. Of course, let me know in the comments if you have anything to say about that. But we are going to wrap up this video now, guys. If you've got any other questions or comments ahead of the deadline, of course, please do feel free to let me know down below. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you are new around here. We will be back later this afternoon for a 2-hour deadline stream. 2 hours before deadline, we will be going live to answer those final questions. And I hope a few of you will join me there on this channel. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Check out another video, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.